And we are live. What's up, everyone? My name is Fitz. I am the host of the Let's Argue podcast. This is my channel. Tonight, we're going to have a very interesting conversation about reparations. Okay? We're going to have a conversation about reparations from a mature perspective. I'm open to debating. We are open to debating. We want different perspectives. Myself and the co-host, we may not agree on that. But before we get into it, if you are new to the channel and you have not liked, commented, and subscribed, make sure you hit that like button as you come into the stream. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you are watching this on replay. That really helps push it out to other people. A like, comment, subscribe, all that great stuff just shows support to the channel. Also, as you can see on the banner down there, there's a couple other ways you can support through Cash App. Also, merch. We have merch available. That is in the comment section. If you're on Facebook and YouTube, you can see that. All right. So let's get into it. So here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to do my intro and break down reparations. Co-host is going to come up, Ty. We're going to have back and forth. And at any time, you can click the link in the comment section and come up. If you're on Facebook, you click the link in the comment section. If you're on YouTube, you click the link in the comment section and you will come up and you will be able to join the panel and give your perspective. I know this is going to be a heated discussion. If nobody comes up, I know that there's going to be a lot of people commenting afterwards on the replay. So let's get into it. Okay. So before we get into it, okay, I just want to say we're going to tackle some real deep issues tonight on this topic. We're diving deep into reparations, this whole thing in the United States. So history lesson time, right? You remember the post-Civil War promise of 40 mules and an acre, right? 40 mules and an acre. What happened to that? And let's not forget the 88 Japanese internment reparations, right? How did those moments shape the viewing of things right now? So we've got reparations stories floating around, from recognizing Native Americans' rights to apologizing to Japanese Americans. What can we learn from these moments? How do they fit into the bigger picture of making amends for history? Well, hold up. It's not just the past. Okay, the reparations talk is still happening today. It's growing strong, especially when it comes to African Americans dealing with the legacy of slavery. And that's what we're going to really be focusing on tonight, is the African Americans' plight for reparations. And we're going to talk about arguments for reparations, against reparations, all of those great things. All right. So what is reparations, right? I know that seems like a very straightforward question, but I'm going to give a breakdown. I've written some stuff down that I want to just get out so that we can have a context for the conversation. Because unless we can agree on definitions or there's a definition set, we can't really have a conversation. So what is reparations? All right. So reparations, in the context of historical injustices, refers to compensatory measures designed to acknowledge and address the damages and systemic harm inflicted upon a specific group of people for the past wrongs. Okay, these measures often involve financial compensation, policy changes, or investments aimed at rectifying the enduring effects of historical injustices such as slavery, colonization, or systemic discrimination. That's an important part, because many people believe that reparations is just about money. It doesn't have to be. Okay, so the movement, just a little history, the movement of reparations has a long and multifaceted history. While the idea of compensating communities for past wrongs has been present for centuries, the current movement gained momentum, particularly in the 20th and 21st centuries. The call for reparations in the United States has been prominently associated with addressing the legacy of slavery and the persistent inequalities faced by Black Americans. So during the Civil War era, as I mentioned before, Black people were essentially promised 40 acres and a mule, were made to form and that was made to formerly enslaved individuals as a form of reparations. But this commitment was ultimately taken back. So they said, we're going to do this. They never did it, right? They took it back. In mid-20th century, civil rights activists and leaders like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr., they began advocating for reparations as a means of redressing historical wrongs and addressing economic disparities. So really the concept gained further traction in the late 20th century, with discussions about reparations for African Americans intensifying around the 1990s. One prominent figure, Congressman John Conyers, I believe his name was, he introduced H.R. 40, a bill that called for the establishment of a commission to study and develop proposals for reparations. H.R. 40 draws its name from the unfulfilled promise of 40 acres and a mule. That's probably the most common phrase that people recognize when it comes to reparations is 40 acres and a mule. It's referenced throughout Black culture. It's been referenced in songs, things like that. But in recent years, the reparation movement has expanded beyond discussions of slavery to include broader systemic issues such as redlining, which redlining had to do with purchasing property. Black people were not allowed to purchase property in certain areas, which greatly impacted the wealth within the Black community. Mass incarceration, which is criminal justice system, and ongoing racial disparities. Racial disparities I have a real big issue with, not in the way you may think. I think that racial disparities are a distraction and that they don't really highlight, for me, in my perspective, what the real issues are. But the debate continues to evolve with varying perspectives on the feasibility, methods, and scope of reparations for the Black community. All right. So that was a long-winded little historical background, but it's important to set the stage and really give definitions and backgrounds and a foundation for the conversation that we're going to have. Now, before we start this conversation, I want to explain why we even feel the need to have this conversation. But before I do that, I'm going to bring co-host Ty up. We got Ty in. What's up? He jamming out.
Hey, what's up, my boy? What's up, reparations?
We can't. You on mute.
I'm on mute, bro. What you talking about?
Oh, yeah, you on mute, I think.
I'm on mute.
Oh no, the volume on my computer was down.
Yeah, that's the problem.
See, reparations.
You wasn't ready.
Reparations. I want reparations for the volume on my computer being down. Reparations.
Get a job.
So what's up?
What's up, man? What's going on? Long time no see, brother.
Yeah,
I'm good. Hey, it's your boy Ty. Catch me on Instagram _wolfwagon_ for all your dog training tips and needs. Also, human animal based content. Get at your boy.
Okay. All right. And there we go. Getting better with the intros. I see it. I feel it.
Something like that.
Got the hair tied back tonight.
Man, this thing is going crazy right now, yo. It just pushed back.
Oh, your hair?
Yeah, I just had to push it back a little bit.
That slave hair.
But you see, I ain't got no lineup.
You ain't got no edges.
Boy, I got more edges than your sisters. Stop playing with me. Let me stop, bro.
I ain't got no sisters.
One man army.
So before I start asking my questions, right, and we get deeper into this conversation, I just want to give a background as to how this conversation came up. And I want to preface my arguments by stating this, because I think it's important to say, okay? When I speak about reparations, I'm strictly speaking from an intellectual perspective. As somebody who's into this subject matter, that is the perspective that I'm speaking for. In no way, shape, or form, and this is important to say, because based on the comments that I've gotten on videos, right? And I'll play some of those videos. Based on the comments that I get on videos that I post, funny videos, not even going in on reparations, there are some people who believe that if you support reparations or you even mention reparations, that you think of yourself as a victim, that you are a victim, and that even the utterance of reparations means that you're sitting at home all day, chilling, no job, no income, no money. You're a bum. And you're just waiting for the Democrat Party to sign that bill that says Black people get a paycheck now. That is the conversation that many people in my comment section have with me when I make content around reparations. I'm automatically a victim. I'm automatically lazy. Go get a job. You people are always asking for a handout. All of these things because I bring up a subject matter and have a certain position on that subject matter, right? All of a sudden, I am a victim. Now, I want to say this. I want to say this for the people in the back. I want to say this for the people in the front. I want to say this to everybody, okay? You can support reparations without thinking of yourself as a victim, right? Important thing. Reparations is about owing something. An example I gave to somebody was, let's say that you go to work. You go to work, you work 80 hours, and you're supposed to receive a paycheck. You never receive that paycheck. A week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, 3 weeks goes by, a month goes by. You still haven't received the paycheck. Are you now a victim if you bring up the fact to your boss, to your job, that you never received that paycheck and you're owed money? Are you now a victim? Are you now lazy? Are you now somebody that's just looking for a handout? Because again, reparations is something that is owed, right? It's not something that you have to do anything for right now. It's something that is owed. So the idea that if you're owed something and you mention it now means that you're lazy and you're a victim. Well, how do we even have a court system then? If you murder somebody today and your trial is in 2 years, right? How do you hold someone accountable when it's like, well, they did that in the past, it doesn't matter? How do you hold people accountable? I know many people, if their paycheck was wrong and they mentioned it, they wouldn't think of themselves as a victim. But whenever Black people mention reparations, now all of a sudden we're automatically victims. We want a handout. We're just lazy bums sitting around. We need to go back to Africa, all this stuff. So just wanted to preface the conversation before we get too deep in it and say that. What you doing back there? All right.
Taking a sip, brother.
So I'll start this out with the question. All right. I'll get us going with this question. In your opinion, okay, in what ways might direct financial compensation serve as a means of acknowledging and also rectifying historical injustices, particularly when we're talking about slavery? Mm-hmm. Like, do you think it will actually do anything in terms of acknowledging?
Oh, in terms of, okay. So we're just
in terms of acknowledging. So yeah, that's a better way to think of it, is like, if reparations are given, is that the ultimate acknowledgement that something has happened? And if not, what would be acknowledgement that slavery took place, we were wronged, and that, you know, something needs to be done about
it? That's a tough question, man. Because I really don't know, outside of money, what would people want, right? So is it an acknowledgement? Yeah. I mean, I think to a certain extent it is. Is it going to do anything for Black people? I really don't know, to be honest. Specifically to this, the acknowledgement part. We'll get to the, you know, is it going to help Black people in today's time, you know, present time? Back then, yeah, I think it would have. I think it would have helped. I think it would have been
How
kind of
so?
well, as you were saying earlier, because I caught a little bit of the preview about the promise of 40 mules and what else? 40
40,
mules and what else?
40 acres and a mule.
40 acres and a mule. I got it
Mhm.
confused. I think it would allow black people to continue being self-sufficient because essentially that's what they were doing during slavery, if you think about it, because they had to work for everything that they had to learn different things, create different things. So essentially it would just been giving them a better start to continue what they've been doing before, just without having to deal with the masters and all that stuff.
Right. Okay, so I guess when I think of this question
Mm-hmm.
about acknowledgement, would direct financial compensation be acknowledgement? What I think about is this is like
Is it?
if you're in a relationship with somebody
Mm-hmm.
and let's say that they always have an attitude or they're always disrespectful or something like that. What is it that they would need to do in order to acknowledge that you're seen, you're heard, and that this won't happen again and the disrespect will not continue
Right.
in the future?
Yeah.
Right? That's what I think about when I think of acknowledging that slavery even happened, because we all understand that it happened, but a lot of the conversation that I hear around it is like, get over it. Get over it. It happened. Get over it. It's done with. Y'all weren't even slaves. Shut up and deal with it. Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is no acknowledgement without action, and not the action that you want, but sometimes it's asking the other person, like, hey, what would it take? In the example of the relationship, if someone's being disrespectful to you and they always have an attitude or they're always, negative, and you're like, okay, I need for you to acknowledge that this is a problem. And I need you to acknowledge that something needs to change. If they can't do that, and it's like, well, get over it. It is what it is. You got some good head when we were in the relationship, so shut up. You know, you start naming all these things, and they can't acknowledge what happened. Is that something that you feel secure with moving forward? That's kind of what I think of as when I think of acknowledgement is, can we really move forward with the acknowledgement that's been given?
I mean, in the terms of giving the financial compensation, like you're saying, yes. I think we can move forward and just kind of like, okay, once we get the compensation, that's it. No more conversation about this. Obviously keep it within the communities, but after that, we're not going to continue to play this victim game of 400 years. If we're getting financial compensation and acknowledgement, we should be able to undo a lot of those things that have happened.
Well, I want to ask you something, because you said we can't continue this game of victimhood. So do you think Black people right now who want reparations, that they are living as victims, like they've adopted a victim mindset or mentality, simply because they think that they're owed reparations? Not even that they're going to get it or that their life is dependent upon it or anything, but just that they believe that they're owed reparations. Do you think that makes them a victim, or that they are being a victim?
Mm. Nah, I mean, if they don't need it, and that's a follow-up question, is if they don't need it or their livelihood doesn't depend on it, why are they advocating for it?
I'll tell you why. This is a great question, and I think this is where people misunderstand what the definition of owed means, right?
Mm.
This is where people don't understand it, okay? Because here's my issue. the United States goes around giving other groups of people who have not done anything for them, for us as a country, they have no problem giving them billions of dollars. But the people who built this country, the people who are still here and contribute to this country, the people who push out culture, and the people who were known worldwide because of contributions made by Black people, right? We've contributed so much to this country, and we can't even get taken care of, but there's no problem with sending money to other people. There's no problem with getting involved in other people's wars for these things, right? But if we're owed something, how can you go give other people money before you give something that's owed to us? So it's like, to use a more individual example. If somebody owes me money, right, and you may say, well, that was 5 years ago. Okay, you still owe me money. How do you think it's going to make me feel or think about you if now you're going and giving somebody else money who you don't even owe, and you cashing them out and you doing all this for them, but you can't even pay me when you owe me, right? Because in order for you to owe somebody, something had to be done for you to owe them. So that's the way I kind of look at it, is like, even if you don't need it, it's still owed, right? Like I may not need that money that you owe me, but best believe it's still owed, right? Like if I'm going out to eat and you put an extra hamburger on my ticket, I may have the money to pay it, but you need to refund me that $10 because that's mine. I don't owe you $10. You owe me that back now, even though I don't need it. So that's kind of how I look at it, is like, just because I don't need it doesn't mean it's not mine.
Why do you think it's owed?
Well, I think it's owed basically because of everything that I mentioned before, just the legacy of slavery, the fact that we were used as chattel slavery. And people like to bring up the fact that, well, slavery existed everywhere, not in the way that Europeans did when it came to Black people. We were specifically targeted because of our race. We were not considered human. And on top of that, even after slavery ended, we had to go through years and years of injustices, our land being stolen, not getting credit for inventions that we made, all of these things that impact wealth and community building. And so it's like, oh, and then another one is, well, nobody alive today was a slave owner. Nobody alive was responsible for but the same government exists. We're holding the government accountable because they allowed it and they sanctioned it and they set up the environment for it to happen. So we're holding the government accountable. It's the same government. There's different people in government, but it's the same government, the United States government. That's who we're holding accountable. When they send money to Ukraine, you're not sending that money. The United States government is. That's their money. They taxed us, and now the government as an entity is using that money for whatever. And what I'm saying is, maybe the people you enslaved and got free labor out of, and the people who helped build this country, maybe they should get money before other people who have done nothing for this country.
Okay. Follow-up question. So when the Europeans came over here, right? Somebody could argue with you and say, well, Black people were the first people to enslave their own people. So if the Europeans studied that methodology, and to your point of they targeted Black people, isn't that birthed from Black people, this idea of slavery?
So the idea of slavery, I don't know that that's true. That Black
methodology.
Yeah, I don't know if Black people created slavery. I'm not sure of the history of like, oh, this is where it started. I just know that slavery has existed throughout human history and that everyone did it. Okay, everyone did it at certain times. And what I'm saying is, in this particular time, this was a global slave trade orchestrated by Europeans, not just in the United States, but globally, so that they could particularly use African labor. It wasn't like, oh, we're in the same tribe and we have some slaves. It's not that. There was a system set up specifically targeting African people and enslaving them based on the ideas of white supremacy that says Black people are inferior to white people. And they propagated and perpetuated those lies in order to justify enslaving us. And they knew that these were lies and they continued to do it. And so what I'm saying is, yes, although slavery existed in other ways, shapes, and forms, it was particularly unique in the way that it existed within the United States and the European construct, because I don't believe those other slaves were thought of as not human. People still understood that they were human, they were just enslaved, right? And there are other reasons why they may have been enslaved. But they were not thought of as less than humans. They were still considered humans. We were dehumanized and used as chattel slavery all over the globe in this system. So I think it is unique. But even if slavery existed in other instances, I don't think that that should take away from the fact that it happened here. Murder existed in other countries, and at some point in time, it was acceptable to murder people for different reasons. Does that mean that if you murder somebody today and it was acceptable at one point, that you should be able to continue doing it, or that there should be no repercussions? Because 3,000 years ago, if you were a man, you could murder a woman just because you wanted to and they felt like men were superior. I don't think that you could then take that and use that today and say it's acceptable. So it's like you can't sit here and claim to be a civilized civilization and then resort back to barbaric ways and then be like, oh, well, it happened thousands of years ago. Okay, let me go hang somebody then, because that happened thousands of years ago. What, I'm gonna go to prison. I mean,
and then last follow up, and I'll let you move on to the next point, because these are some of the questions or arguments that I've seen. Some would say that black people got reparations when they abolished slavery. Mm-hmm. They would say that that's your reparations. You're free to live how you want, free to exist, free to earn opportunities as a white counterparts. They leveled the playing field, is what many would say. What are your thoughts on that?
I would disagree that that's a form of reparations. Because essentially, I guess what you're saying, what that would mean is that Black people were owed freedom. Reparations is something that you're owed. So Black people were owed freedom, and now we're given freedom. But the people that were already free, they were not previously slaves, like in the United States, if that makes sense. Most of them were not. So to say, well, now you're free, that's a form of reparations, that's a bit of a stretch, and that really doesn't like that's like the people that are wrongly imprisoned for a crime they never committed and then they settle with the city and get millions of dollars. That's a form of like restitution, I believe, or like a form of reparations, if you will. They're not just like, oh, well, your payout is that you're free now. No, a wrong was done. You were wrongly imprisoned. We proved it. And now the city has to pay for that because we did something wrong. We made a mistake. I look at it in a similar manner, where just because you're getting something that, again, based on the philosophies of the United States, mm-hmm. we have inalienable rights that were given by God. Everyone has freedoms, right? The life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So those are things that the government doesn't give you that you already have. Those were taken. So we're already free. You took that from us. So that's what we're being compensated for, if you will. So no, I don't think that just giving somebody their freedom is a form of reparations, because you really didn't have the right to take their freedom to begin with. But also, if that's reparations, then I mean, if that's considered a form of reparations, what are the people that are already free? We're not getting any more than they did, but they didn't have anything done wrong to them. So I don't think that really makes sense.
That's the argument that some people have said, because they'll bring up Abraham Lincoln and how he was kind of the face of abolishing slavery and those type of things. So just wanted to bring that up just in case somebody drops it in the comments or comes up and says, "Hey, Abraham Lincoln." Yeah.
He said natives ain't get no reparations. They were forced, still colonized by the front office folks. I mean,
spitting fire.
And natives are, and you could probably speak more to this, but I really just focus on Black people. Yeah. I know there's some people that say natives are Black people are natives. But when I think of Native Americans, I'm thinking of the people who separate from Black people, who are their own thing.
Right.
But I mainly focus on Black people. But it's like when you dig into it, natives, I think, were given some form of reparations just because of the land that they have. And I know some people will say, well, that was already their land, so how can you give something to somebody that was already theirs? That kind of fits back into the whole, we gave you your freedom, that's reparations. Well, you can't really count that as reparations because I was already free.
Right.
You just did something to stop that.
Yeah. And that argument, a lot of people don't understand with that, is that most natives, indigenous people, whatever people whatever term they want to say about it.
Negroes.
Hey, some people say that now. There's a lot of different theories and points.
Blackfoot.
But for native folks,
your Blackfoot.
This guy, yo, that's why let me stop. This guy, dang, that boy been doing pedicures. Anyways, with native folk, people often say that, well, you got the casinos, you got the land. What most people don't understand is that the land that they have, and this is not for many nations, tribes, because they say different terms now. The land that they have is not farmable. It's not. There's no nutrients to the soil. Most of them don't even have access to water. So, for example, the Navajo Nation, they don't have clean drinking water at all. They have, this is probably years ago at this point now, they have a water truck that comes through maybe, I think it was like once, twice a month maybe, and you fill up 5 gallon, these big 5 gallon, 10 gallon type of tanks, and that's all the water that you have to last you until it comes back for showering, eating, washing dishes, clothes, whatever the case may be. So the water out there is very scarce. But a lot of people use that argument as like, bro, you didn't really get nothing out of it. If you think about it, if you really look into it, and most people don't, that's why they say that, they're not really living the dream. And then the casinos, they don't see a lot of money from that because the front office people are still doing colonizer tactics by keeping them down. Now, do certain tribes get like assistance, like through a card and stuff? Yeah, but that's usually coming from the front office. That's not coming from the U.S. government that I'm aware of, that I've seen, that I've talked with people about. So, and to your point, it's kind of like damn, it ain't really nothing at that point, but it looks like it to other people, and it's like, and they living worse than us. A lot of them are living worse than your inner city hoods. Like, people don't even know, man. So
I'll have to reference Killer of the Moon.
There you go. Exactly. There you go.
Have to go to them.
There you go. And that still happens to this day with the people in the front office. So just because they look like you don't mean they for you, man.
And that brings me to my next point, because, or my next question, because I know there are a lot of people out there when it comes to slavery, to slavery and to reparations. When they hear reparations, their mind automatically goes to, that's not practical. Giving Black people reparations just isn't practical. So are there any practical challenges in implementing reparations, such as determining who's eligible and what would be considered fair compensation, that pose significant obstacles? Like, is there stuff that's really in the way of giving reparations, or is it just United States government and white people don't want to give us what we feel we're owed, or is it there are practical steps or practical challenges that are in the way?
I'm going to say it's more just they don't want to give the reparations. Because if you think about the Jewish community, right, they've received reparations for what happened. And
like, when you say they receive reparations, what are you talking about specifically?
Financial compensation
for
what happened with the Holocaust.
And are you talking about from the United States, or are you talking about in Germany and other places?
I want to say, I'll have to look that up. I don't know. I don't know if the U.S. had a hand in that. We were taught that in school, but I don't know if they had a hand in that. Maybe they did get reparations from Germany or Europe in its entirety. I don't know. We'll have to look that up. You have to look it up.
Another thing that could be interesting is when we talk about reparations, it could come in the form of, well, we sent troops over there to help liberate you. That was a financial investment.
Right.
Or after the war, maybe there were soldiers that helped rebuild certain areas or help with this and help with that. Some people may say that that's a form of reparations because you're helping this community get back on their feet.
Yeah.
It could be we funded certain movies and documentaries or projects that help this community. So it doesn't just have to be a direct check, because you were talking about earlier. Well, I don't know what else it could be besides direct compensation. These are all different ways. It's like, I may not have to give you a direct check to help you go to college. I could call the school up and pay your tuition right then and there. Like, I don't have to give you a direct check. I could get you some groceries or get you a little gas card or buy you a card or a car. These are things that can help you along your way that don't necessarily mean direct check to you. So that's another thing with reparations, is it doesn't have to be a direct check. It can be certain things like, hey, we're gonna give you a little voucher, go get you a little $30 haircut every month. Something. I don't
yeah, free school. Yeah, that makes sense. I brought that up because so they didn't get any compensation from the U.S. specifically, but Germany paid financial compensation from, and this is on the U.S. Department of State website.
So is your point that, well, there are other countries who are not as powerful as the United States? They're able to give reparations to citizens. Why can't the United States?
They can follow that blueprint that they have set out to pay that restitution. They paid it from 1945 all the way to 2018, and it was almost $90 billion. So
here's an interesting thing, right? When I was doing my research, and I learned this years ago, and I studied it, it was interesting because the literature that I was reading pointed out the contradiction. It was pointing out how, and I'm not advocating for violence against people, but it's talking about how it became a world war because it was white people that were now being attacked, or you know what I mean? Like, but during this whole time, they were literally splitting up parts of Africa to be colonized, and the places that already been colonized. And there was no world war over Africa. There was no world war over the Congo. There's no world war over, countries going in and colonizing those places and brutalizing those people and committing genocide against African people. But the moment it starts happening against Europeans, no matter what faction they are, that's a no-no. So now there's a world war because of that. But there's no world war, there's no global war when they go in and colonize Sierra Leone and the Congo and different parts of Africa and extract resources. So it's always been about white superiority when you think about it, because you attack other white people and do things to other white people, there's a world war. But when you go into Africa and do all this stuff, there is no world war. So I think that just goes to tell me the mindset that there is when it comes to exploiting and harming Black people. When it comes to white people and Europeans and things like that, it seems like there's almost an initiative or a great push to right the wrongs and make sure this doesn't happen again. But when it comes to African countries and African people on the continent or in the diaspora, there's always like a get over it type of mentality that happened. But where do we get, like, most of those places are still struggling because of what happened. I think Haiti is still paying France or whatever because Haiti overthrew France and kicked them out of Haiti. It's like, imagine that you're enslaved and you have to pay the country that enslaved you because you had a revolution and liberated yourself. You have to pay. To this day, I believe they're still paying.
Mm-hmm.
You have to pay them because you liberated yourself. And then on top of that, when you look at other instances of the United States and other countries controlling the imports and exports of certain countries, African countries, and putting sanctions on them if they try to sell goods. Like, there are places in Africa and all around other African places where it would be cheaper for them to make something there and sell it within that country, but they have to import it from other places or else they get sanctions on other things. So imagine that. It's cheaper for me to make a bowl of oatmeal at home, but the government says, no, you have to go and buy it from this restaurant that costs 5-10 times more than it would cost you at home. And if you don't do that, we're going to raise your electricity bill 20x. So then it's like they're still exercising control, but in other ways. Mm-hmm. So, comparing it to go back to the original question of the practicality of it, your argument is that, well, they just don't want to do it. But to be fair, let's take determining eligibility. Okay.
Right.
How would we determine who gets reparations and who doesn't? How would we determine that? Like, if you have a Black grandpa or grandmother, but your parents are white, because I know that there's people like that where the parents, maybe one of the parent has a little bit of white Black in them, and they got with somebody else that's a white person or whatever. Do they get it? Like, where do we draw the line and say, these are the people that get it? Is it phenotype? Is it you look Black? Because some people will say, well, they knew who the slaves were back in the day. Let's just use that. Mm-hmm. If you would have been a slave back then, you get
it. That'd be tough, man. Because you'd have to give it to everybody that's Black. Truthfully, how would you exclude them and say, well, we're only giving to people who are fully Black, not mixed? How would you do that?
And some people may say, well, they don't have a problem doing that, like, when it's other things, or counting you as Black when it's other things. But now that it's something that would benefit you, now all of a sudden we don't know what Black is anymore.
True. Well,
because people will say, oh, well, people are going to take advantage of that and things like that. But even so, they were able to do PPP loans and people took advantage of those. Right. They do student loans and people take advantage of those.
Right.
people do credit cards and all these other things. People take advantage of those. So let's not act like nothing gets taken advantage of and that this is the only thing, right? So I don't think that that's a reason to not at least do it, because for a majority of people, you know what black is. You know whether somebody's black or not.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I guess you could go off of, if we're talking like credit card standards and things like that, things related to that. You technically could go off of, Social Security, driver's license. You can go off those type of things to, I don't even want to say validate. That's so weird to say. That's so weird to say that. Like, validate that you're black, or prove that. I feel like that's like the blood quantum thing in the Native community. You gotta have 25, 50% Native blood to get ID card. So I don't know, but you could do it like that.
There's a reason for that, and it's rooted in white supremacy, honestly, because one of the things that they did, going back to the Native tribes, one of the things that they did to lessen the I guess the argument that natives, or that natives could receive something, was that they would impregnate Native women. They would get with Native women, white people get with them purposely to dilute the Native American bloodlines, so that over generations they would have less and less claim to the benefits of the Native tribe. So it's like 4 generations removed, you're not even really attached to that Native American tribe anymore. So you feel less, there's less of a chance that you're going to stand up for them. There's less of a chance that you're going to claim them. And there's less of a claim to those benefits. And this is the same thing that they're doing with reparations. They're saying, well, that was your great grandfather was a slave. You weren't. And they're going, okay, this amount of time has passed. This amount of generations have passed. We never righted the wrong, but so much time has passed. Get over it, essentially. So, I mean, I do think that there's practical implications in determining if we're trying to get it perfect, but I think for the most part, we can tell who's black and who's not. One of the interesting things I think in this question is about fair compensation. How much, if we're talking about direct compensation, how much money, and when does it stop? Is it like black people born after or from 2024 and prior, they get it, but nothing after this? Will those black people that are born after 2024 feel left out? Like, where would it end, and what would be considered fair compensation? Is this a monthly check? Is it a lump sum? Is it black people don't have to pay taxes, or it's a credit back when you file income taxes? What would this look like? Like, what would fair compensation be? And if this compensation was given, would black people be like, okay, the rights or the wrongs of slavery have been righted? Like, would it actually do what it's meant to do, which is United States acknowledges slavery happened and that it was wrong and that injustices were perpetuated, and would it right those wrongs? Like, so how would we calculate what fair compensation would be?
Knowing the U.S., if they were to say, yes, we're going to give reparations to black people, I am going to assume it's going to be in some type of form of financial compensation and maybe some other incentives like free schooling, trade school, some type of career path that black people can do other than sports having to be the way into college. It'll be a monthly credit. I'm not sure whether it would be taxed or tax-free. In my head, I'm thinking it would be taxed, because the argument would be, well, we're giving you this money. This is what you wanted. but we still need to make something on the back end because we can't just let you get away with this. Right? We're still going to give you this so you shut up. So monthly, probably taxed, and then other incentives to make up for the tax part that look desiring. And I think if they don't do it, and this is to the point before you went into this one, when the Holocaust ended, reparations immediately kicked in. There was no long time period compared to Black folks. Like, it's been 400 years. Reparations for the people that were affected in the Holocaust started less than a 10-year period. So it'd be kind of hard to do it now because it's like so much time has passed and so many of those people that were alive during that time have died. Yes, they have generations that have lived on, but how many of them really are connected like that or really know? You know what I mean? So monthly check to get it out the way, tax it. Hey, here's some free school and here's this. Here you go.
But is there a deeper thing? Is there a way to fairly compensate Black people for slavery?
I don't think it's ever going to make up for that genocide. I don't think it'll ever make up for that. You can give Black people, you can give people $500,000, everybody, and put it in a monthly check. I don't think that would ever make up for what has happened.
So let's put it in that perspective then. If you're the United States and you say, even if we give them this money, they're still going to hold slavery against us, why would you ever give them the money? I mean, you get everything you want from them anyways. When it comes to the Democrat Party, they're still going to vote for you. They're still going to go to their jobs. They're still going to do this. Yes, maybe they commit more crimes than other groups of people. We're fine. We've calculated for that. We have the prison system set up, and now we have for-profit prisons where you can make money. You can go in and do that now. Teachers unions are funded, some of them, by these private prisons and some of the revenue that's generated off of those. So we have a system in place for that. We have systems in place to justify why it happens. So why would we give them reparations when they're still going to blame us and hold slavery against us? And then on top of that, what are they gonna do with the money? What are they gonna do? Here's the thing, though. If they gave reparations, we would just give the money right back through consumerism. It wouldn't be through wealth. We wouldn't be building wealth. So right. So I think that when it comes to fair compensation, there's really no fair compensation in terms of we give you the money and now what happened with slavery, we can forget about that. I think the idea would be we give you this money or we give whatever form this reparations takes place as, right? We do that. This is our formal acknowledgement. You're not getting anything after this. This is our formal acknowledgement. And you just have to move forward, right? I don't think that the idea is like, if the city jacks me up real bad and now I have a missing eyeball and they give me $1 million, that now I'm like, okay, I forgive you, or I forgot that happened. It didn't happen. No, you owe me. It's as simple as that. It doesn't mean I have to forget, right? When you go get a loan from a bank and you miss a couple payments, you still owe them, and they didn't forget even once you pay it back. That's still on your credit report. You still got those delinquency marks. They didn't forget. So, it's interesting that we're always asked to forget.
Yeah. Well, and I think if you accept some type of reparations, I think there's a time of it's like, okay, they've tried to quote unquote right their wrongs. How can we take that and turn it into a positive? Because even if they give reparations, let's say it's $200,000 per person, maybe even more. I'm just making up numbers right now. It's gonna potentially change the lives of the future generations that are to come. For some people, other people are going to be so addicted to consumerism, and they're going to blow that money every single chance they get. Compared to other people, other black people, they're going to be able to take that and create those Malcolm X's, Martin Luther Kings of the world, Marcus Garvey's, be able to give them a different life. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's tough because I think if you accept it, then you have to be okay with what comes after it. You don't have to forget in your family, but there's no longer that argument of like they're still the villains. They're still the villains. They were the villains. We took the money to give you this life, but we're not going to forget where we came from. And that's kind of the argument with Native folk. Land, we want the land back. We want the land back. And I'm an advocate for that because many indigenous folks knew how to nurse what we have now, the earth. They knew how to nurse everything, came up with different methods for farming, knowing when to plant, the stars, everything. But my follow-up question for a lot of that stuff is, if we were to get the land back, whether it's indigenous people, black people, whatever, get that land back, we ain't gonna know what the hell to do with it. We don't know how to nurse it. We don't know how to grow stuff because we're involved in so many other things and not that. We're not involved in the culture. So if they give us land, it's gonna go to waste because we're gonna have to backtrack to learn everything that our ancestors before already knew. So would reparations even be worth it to give at this point? Because where people's values at? You give somebody land nowadays, present time, they're not gonna do anything with it. They're gonna let it rot, or they're gonna sell it back to the government. So it'd be like,
that could be a very dangerous mindset because that's what justified the land being taken to begin with. Was when Europeans came over here, their idea of how to use land was different than the ideas that natives had for how to use land. So natives didn't believe you can own land. Europeans believed you could own land. So there's a difference in, beliefs of the land. And so because of that belief, that justified then Europeans coming in and taking the land from them, because in European philosophy or European ideology, it was, you're not using this land for the best use case, which is profit, which is, exploiting what comes from the land and all of those things, right? So if we say, well, they're not going to use the land in X way, even though it's owed to them, isn't that just another form of like colonization or perpetuating colonization? Like, if you don't use it in this exact way, then what's yours shouldn't be yours.
I'm not saying what's yours shouldn't be yours. It'll just go to waste.
Yeah.
So for me, the question would be like, what's the point? If I'm not going to use it for what it's intended for, or value it, give it the same value, why? And then I'm thinking from their point of view, why would I give them this if they're not going to do anything with it? That's a waste. This is a waste of time, money, resources, energy to give this as a form of reparations, and then nothing's done with it. Like, yeah, it's yours, but what's the point of owning something if you're not going to use it?
It's still yours.
It's like having a car. If I have a car sitting out in my driveway and I don't go nowhere,
I don't mean you can steal it.
Yeah, it's mine.
That's still mine.
No,
I ain't drove it in 10 years. If you step up in that car, that's my car.
10 years, bro. Yo.
I ain't drove it in 10 years. That's still my car. Right?
But we've never been those type of people. We've never been those type of people to waste like that. That's why we have a problem now, because people have cars like Cardi B. Cardi B is from New York. Ain't never had a license, ain't never driven nowhere. Shawty got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different cars. That she'll never drive. But she want to be like, hey, I own those.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that I think
it might be a poor mindset that I got, I guess.
The thing that I think your argument is missing is that you treat something differently when you feel like you're the owner. So although maybe natives aren't connected to the land like they used to be, there's no telling what they would do if they got the land again. Or, you know, like it may just be like, okay, we got the land. Now, what are we going to do with it? And that could change the mindset, but there's no reason for them to be like that right now because they don't have the land, you know? So to judge them based off of how they are now, it could be like, well, if they were doing that, if they did have it, maybe they would behave in this way because now they have the land and they can go and farm and do these other things on it. Just like if you've watched it, Flower of the Moon, I think they struck oil on the land, and then that determined what they were doing. But before they struck oil, they weren't using the land that way, right? So someone could come in and say, oh, they struck oil, but we can go in and kick them off the land because they're not going to know what to do with oil because they're not doing it right now. But they didn't know oil was there, so of course they're not doing it right now. But once they found out oil was there, they set up systems, they put things in place, and they were able to capitalize off of that. So I wouldn't discount, you know, what people could do based on what they're currently doing, especially when, you know, they really can't do it at that level right now. But I do understand the argument, just like I understand the argument of if you give black people a bunch of money right now, they're just going to give it back to white people because they don't know about financial literacy, and their mindset is centered around consumerism and keeping up with white men, even though they make less. It's about how much can they spend to appear wealthy and appear rich and all of those things. I do understand that, which is, you know, I think it's a lot harder to fumble the bag when it comes to land than with money. Because with land, it's like, unless you go in and just start burning stuff up and doing stuff, you know, those changes happen over time to the land. Whereas with money, you can get $250,000 and next week that's gone. But with land, you get a piece of land, there's a lot that has to go wrong in order for you to, you know, like jack it up. And even if the first generation jacks up the land, most of the time, I think you can reconcile the damage that's been done, or just, you know, let Mother Nature repair.
Exactly.
So it could, you know, so, you know, fair compensation, maybe we get land. But again, for the people that are just tuning in or that are watching this on replay, when I'm specifically talking about reparations, I'm not saying I'm sitting around waiting for my land and waiting for my paycheck and I'm living under a bridge or something like that. No, this is just an intellectual conversation about reparations.
Yeah.
All right.
And I think that before we move to the next point, I think if we're gonna come out and say these things, well, we want reparations, land back, or, you know, whatever, right? I think we need to be prepared to back that up and stand on that. That's why I say what I said about, you know, you get it, you ain't gonna know what to do with it. But if you're gonna say that and push for it and advocate for it, be already doing these practices in your life, whether it be land, whether it be financial literacy, school, whatever you want as an incentive. Be ready to take care of it if it were to ever happen.
You ain't getting your land back, boy.
Oh, this guy. Yo, hey, you need to start wearing that 24/7, bro.
You ain't getting it back, boy. And I'll tell you this right here. You ain't getting your land back. You should just be happy you're in this country. All right, Fitz is back. Where were we?
Country my ancestors built.
Well, okay, let me go. Let me go to the next question. All right, so next question. Do you think that reparations has the potential to dismantle systemic racism and create a more equitable society for future generations? Why or why not?
In present day, right now,
yeah, like, so for instance, if reparations were given, do you think that that would dismantle systemic racism? Like, would that be, because a lot of people looked at Obama and was like, well, Obama is the symbol that systemic racism does not exist, because how did he get to the highest office of the land if it does exist? They looked at that and they said, the fact that we have a black president, that must mean that systemic racism, either if it does exist, it's very minuscule and does not have an impact on people's lives. Do you think that if reparations were passed in a fair way that a majority of black people agreed on, this is fair compensation, do you think that that would dismantle systemic racism?
Never thought about that before. Obama was a DEI hire. Oh man. What a dismantle. That's tough. I'd say no, man, because like you said, the consumerism will eat at the black community, and I mean,
But what are we? Let's use definitions here. When we're talking about systemic racism, what are we talking about? Are we talking about decisions, or are we talking about systemic barriers that are getting in the way?
I don't think it would dismantle. I think they would just figure out more ways of how to create more hurdles for black people to jump over. We gave you this money. Now that you have more money, here's some more hurdles to jump over.
So in Europe, based on what you're saying, it sounds like you're saying systemic racism can never not be a major factor or major obstacle in the lives of black people. Is that what you're saying?
They can be. I'm not saying they can't be, but they can be.
So in your mind, what is there anything? What, if anything, can the United States do for systemic racism to be a minuscule problem in the lives of black people? Is there anything? Or is it cat's out the bag, genie's out the bottle?
Genie's out the bottle. This guy, Britney Spears.
I thought that was Aladdin.
You ain't never heard Britney Spears? A genie in the bottle. You too young, brother. Too young.
I want to say something now, but I'm not gonna.
Say it. Say it.
I'll pass. So what do you think?
Must be the white boss around me.
Will reparations dismantle, if it were passed? Will it dismantle systemic racism? It sounds like you're saying no.
I don't know. I don't think it will, because it'll just create more obstacles. I think black people will create more obstacles for themselves. So,
but that's separate than systemic racism, isn't it? Like, I know it can be intertwined,
right?
But
yeah,
I think my thing, and this is where I would have to draw the line. If the United States puts together a reasonable reparations package that a majority of black people can agree upon, and they actually pass it and we're given reparations, I believe that we no longer can have a stake in the systemic racism is holding us back claim. I think that has to be a part of the negotiations. I really do. Even like, not saying it completely gets rid of all racism and things like that, but there has to be something there that echoes that sentiment. Unless there's another slavery epidemic or whatever, or something like that, or that it can be reasonably shown that, hey, there's still things that are going on. I think that the worst thing that black people could do is get reparations and then turn around and say, Can I borrow $5 more? Can just give me 10 more? You already gave me, just give me more. That would be the worst thing, right? That's like somebody that continuously asks you to borrow money and you give it to them and this is the last time. It's never going to happen again. And then 2 weeks later, never happening again is happening now. So I think there needs to be some clear lines drawn. Like, hey, part of the United States, this is what this means. Accept it, because after this,
that's it.
That's it. This is what it is. So I don't think it will. I don't necessarily think it will dismantle systemic racism. Like it will change. It will change things from that perspective. But what I do think is that it would send a huge sign that says, "Hey, you can no longer use systemic racism in the way that it's currently being used. Amends have been made, and maybe individual racism is happening, but on a systemic level, if you guys accept this reparations package, then that's like that's like the referee at the end of the fight acknowledging that someone low blowed you. It's like, yeah, but they ended up knocking you out later on. So just because they low blowed you in that one match doesn't mean every match from now on everyone needs to be disqualified. If they acknowledge that it happened, we move forward. So I think it would send a sign.
Yeah, I don't think it would dismantle it.
Okay, the next question, we're going to get into government accountability. Should there be a time limit on how long the government can be held accountable for past mistakes, such as slavery?
Accountable.
Because that's the argument is, well, it happened so long ago.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be held accountable today for it. So is there a time limit? Like, what is the time limit that the government should be held accountable for something they've done in the past?
I don't think there's a time limit, to be honest. I've never thought about that, but thinking about it now, because our decisions often shape our future, we can't ignore what has happened in the past in this country, which has shaped how we are now, essentially, in some way or form, whether it's 2% or whether it's 100%. Some way, shape, or form that has created what we have now. So I don't think there's really a time limit in that, and I think until they take accountability, then yeah, you could be like, okay, we're going to move forward now. You said what you said, you gave us what you gave us. Now we can move forward. But even then, it's still you can't say the United States without thinking what's happened in the past and what we've had our hands in. Other countries know about it. It's not even from racism, but because we funded wars and we continue to fund wars and continue to send money. That's what they know us for. So when you mention their country, you can't even not mention our name because we're a part of that history. So to people who say that, well, get over it, it's 400 years ago, he was still feeling the long-term effects. We all are.
And another way to think about this is it feels sometimes like Black people are, as a group, we are the child that the United States had out of wedlock.
The bastard child.
Right. We're the bastard child. We're the child that,
I like that.
Everyone knows had them out of wedlock. But you still want to include us here. You want to take us to the game with the other kids. You want to, make us feel included. But there's always that, man, who my real daddy? Who my real mama? United States? Where's what? Africa. That's my motherland. Why you leave my mother? Like Africa, United States the daddy, Africa the mama. It's like, Why you leave her like that? You don't have to do her like that. It's like, you don't respect my mom. She's probably not going to respect me. So I just feel like we're part of a history that the United States wishes doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
There's no easy way to be accountable for it. And also it's like, even if you're that parent where you've done something wrong to the child, but you want to make amends now, the child doesn't always forgive the parent, or they don't necessarily see it in that way. Yeah, we're kind of like the adopted child. Black people are the adopted children of America, and that shadow will always be over us. No matter how many gifts you give, no matter how much you take us out to the ball game, or you buy football cleats and stuff like that, there's always that shadow hanging over us. And can it be fixed? I think to a large degree, it has been fixed, right? I'm not going to sit here and say things are as bad as they were 150 years ago or even 50 years ago. But it becomes frustrating when you see all this money being thrown around, and it's made to seem like there's no money in the world now when it comes to Black people's issues and righting some of those wrongs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think when people say that, forget about it, you can't forget about it, because we were involved in so many different wars, politics. Like, we were involved in all those things. Many of our ancestors fought in these wars to keep the United States what the United States is today. And so that should be enough to even dismiss that argument that people were having, because if it wasn't, and I could probably say this guaranteed, if it wasn't for us, I don't know if the United States would be what it is today, because it relied on so many Black and brown people to join, be a part of these things, and show our independence. But if we didn't have that, who's to say the United States would be here today?
Right. No, and that's a good point. And that brings me into kind of something that we don't talk about enough is, do you think that reparations could create division within the Black community, because some people may benefit more than others, which could lead to like internal tension?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, you see it now. You see it now with rappers and athletes, and how a lot of people's mentality who aren't at that level will say, well, it's easy to say that when you have millions of dollars. For example, LeBron. Everybody has some beef with LeBron.
Should he get a reparations check?
Huh?
Should LeBron get a reparations check?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah. But I mean, you see it now, like I said, with the celebrities, the rappers, all these things now, where they're so disconnected to a point where it's like they're not even putting on for the Black community, unless it's involving some type of money to do an ad or an event, a book pack giveaway, all those things, where it's like, we're going to give you stuff because you're poor, but we're rich. And it's always going to be that way. Kind of that saying of, well, you changed on us. You're not Black anymore. You moved out, went to college. You ain't a part of us no more because you didn't stay in the hood.
So is your argument that people will make different decisions with their reparations, and that will then cause division?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think to an extent, yeah. Because if let's say you get reparations, right? Let's say you and somebody else, right? And that person spends their money on cars, chains, clothes, and you go out and buy 40 acres of land in Utah, and then you start a farm, and you become extremely self-sufficient, where you don't have to spend money on groceries, any of the necessities that we need, housing, any of that stuff. And then they run out of their money in 2 years. And in 2 years, you still have more than half of what you've been given. I think it'd be like, oh, well, you're supposed to help me. We were given the same opportunity, man. You got the same money I did. Because if we're gonna do like a flat rate equal, like you said, you got the same money that I did. So then you become the bad guy.
Right. No, I can see that. And I'm trying to think of like what are some practical things that could happen where it's like I have reparations, another black person has reparations, and they feel like they were unfairly treated or they didn't get what they should have gotten. I don't know. I think it's at a certain point it's about accountability.
Right.
So if you're getting reparations and you go and blow it, that's on you. But some people could say, well, people have opportunities now and they go and blow it, and then they say that it's because of slavery. That I think a lot of the argument is, hey, yes, you were a slave, or your ancestors were slaves, but you have more opportunity now in the United States as a result of your ancestors being slaves than people who were never slaves from Africa. And so from that perspective, you're better off in total. But then the flip side of that is, well, many of the places in Africa are doing bad because y'all colonized them. So
one way
to create division globally if black people in America got reparations, but other groups didn't, or it's like your family, they weren't even really slaves, or y'all immigrated over here, you weren't slaves, or my family was on this plantation and yours wasn't, you were a house Negro and my family was out on the fields, things like that. When you get it into a granular, or because it's not just about slavery, it's also about Jim Crow and redlining. It could be, well, my family lived in this area where they were redlining more than this area, and since slavery happened and Jim Crow happened, your family has a little bit more money and mine doesn't. So why do you get why do you get this amount and that amount? So yeah, I can see it causing some type of division. Money typically does,
right.
But I mean, that already happens even when people get better jobs than other people. So I don't think that should stop you from going out and getting a better job, or preventing anything like that.
Right. I think it would promote more colorism too, because to your point before, what is black? How would you define black for reparations? Because then darker people might say, oh, the lighter people, they're not really black.
Here's how I'll define it. Here's how I'll define whether you're black. Here's how I'll define.
You're not black enough. You don't look like that chair. You're brown.
Here's how I'll define whether you're black or not. If you're a black woman, you're likely a black woman if you have weave in your hair. She's going straight to the black line. We know that. We know that. They're the only group of people that really do that.
Yeah.
Black. Here's how we know if you're a black man, right? Here's what I've been told. Now, this isn't me. This is just me living off of my experience. Here's how we know if you're a black man, right? If you're dating a white woman. if you put a white woman in the room with you, and you're able to break out of a full-on stray jacket, you're a black man. Nah, all jokes. But I do have a final question, because we pretty much covered a lot.
Yep.
What unintended consequences do you think could arise from reparations, such as creating racial divides, not just within black people, but with other groups, or creating dependency on the reparations? Like, if we get reparations, will that be kind of will it de-incentivize us to go out and do for self?
Yeah, I think it will fall along the lines of being on welfare, food stamps, that type of mentality, to where you're like, I don't want to work. I don't need to do more, or I'm gonna keep working this bare minimum job that I've been doing for a while because I'm getting this money. I think it would also promote more war within the country as well, because you'll have more access and resources to do more killings, robbing, become more of a boss, you know, kingpin type of vibes. And for those people who have hate in their hearts as much as white people have hate, some white people have hate in their hearts for black people. Maybe those black group will be like, hey, let's go buy some X, Y, and Z and get our get back, because this ain't enough. They done messed up. They don't know who they gave this to, type of mentality. So I think it'll promote more wars and continue that mindset of like, hey, I don't need to do better. Government's giving me money, so I'm good.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I definitely think it will cause more division. Just me posting YouTube videos causes division, which I said I would play some of those.
Get a job.
You're broke.
You're broke.
So I'm gonna play the video that had everyone up in arms. Had a lot of people.
Which one? Which social media is this on?
This is on my the YouTube.
YouTube, okay.
All right, I'm gonna show a couple of these videos.
You had some great questions, by the way, too. Very thought provoking.
Thank you.
Because we always talk about what if, like it's always a sweet talk that we do, but we never think about any valuable solutions. Oh, I see this one. Didn't this one have like 6,000 views?
I think that was another one. I'll show that one too.
Yeesh.
Someone is responsible for what happened, and I can't say who that is, but I know it's not me. I feel that
this is when Black people demand reparations. So there's that one. It's like the comments that I get, and I just when I make these videos.
Mm-hmm.
But people be heated.
People all colors have to stop getting so sensitive when talking about these conversations. Like, stop being so sensitive.
Like 3 of them. But
sit down and have a conversation.
People be heated. Let's see.
And I think it's warranted. I think it's warranted to a certain extent as well, because the people who
I got to go to the second page.
The people who go through and say these things,
okay,
they usually don't have their stuff together. So
found it.
I think it's warranted a little bit for sure.
All right, let's see what other crimes against humanity I committed by posting this video.
They gonna comment on this video. You think it's funny to put my name up there? I didn't put your name. This video is like months ago. You stupid boy. Hey, that could be on a commercial. Hey, they might put that on the ads.
People got here about that.
Yo, that's crazy. You need to put one with Donald Trump wins the election. They go crazy on that video.
There's another one. Let me see. Oh no, I think that was all the ones I did about. Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. People be sensitive, man. They be triggered. It's like, bro, let's just sit down and have a conversation. Like, ain't nobody blaming you and saying you the one that was out there calling me boy and whipping me with the whip. I just want to have a conversation. Let's have some acknowledgement. Let's talk about how it affects you as well.
And I'm going to be honest, right? I don't expect reparations. I don't live my life like, oh, when this reparations check hits, I'm going to be able to do X, Y, and Z. I'm not waiting on them. It's just an intellectual conversation at this point. It's almost like when if you're driving with somebody, if you're driving with somebody and they say that, you know, if we go this way, it'll get us there quicker, but you know that that's not true. You may not care, but you may just mention it like, hey, no, actually this way is quicker. And then you try to prove it and stuff like that. That's kind of how I feel about reparations. Right. I'm not he said Donald J. Trump, reparations 2024. Yes, sir. Yeah. I think there's a misconception that if you support reparations that you're some victim. Again, I don't think that that's necessarily the case. Well, what I will say is that if you are sitting around, which I don't think that Black people are sitting around waiting for reparations in order to make any moves in their life. I think that it's just something that has never been fully acknowledged, and that people are it's like the beacon of hope. It's the symbol of acknowledging the struggle in the past that Black people have had in this country. But do I think that there's millions of Black people sitting around waiting for a reparations check? No. Do I think that it's something that's spoken about in the Black community because we feel like we've never truly been acknowledged and the struggles we went through have not been acknowledged? Yes. Do I think that other groups of people get money from the government and things like that in forms that are not considered reparations? Yes. So just because it's not labeled as reparations doesn't mean it's not some type of compensation for wrongdoing or some type of compensation or subsidy from the government. It doesn't have to be labeled reparations in order for it to be money from the government for something that you didn't necessarily do to earn it. So yeah. Do you have any final closing thoughts on this topic?
Great questions. Like I said, I think those people who have those arguments of, well, you're just lazy, use your same logic. When white people say, well, I'm not racist, you shouldn't look at us as a whole group. You shouldn't let one group speak for us. It's the same for all communities, all people, especially Black folks. You can't look at one specific group of people who are on welfare, who aren't doing anything, and try to place that on everybody else. And that's kind of been the golden argument that people like to take and say, well, what about this? What about all the other Black people that are contributing to society?
They don't
doing
matter.
right, making money, paying taxes, like
marrying white.
Obviously it don't matter because division makes money. So educate yourselves, have conversations with people, man. Have intellectual conversations, think outside the box, think about real solutions, and let's come together, man, and try to make the world we're living in a better place. And stop bombing the Congo. Shout out to Juice Bay. I follow Juice Bay on Instagram, and she's from the States, but she moved around. She's moving around in different countries, and she's in the Congo right now helping out. And man, they bombing them. I'm talking about like, boy, it look, hey, it's bad out there, bad. But hey, we don't care. Super Bowl is what matters the most.
Yeah. If they really want to destroy them, just drop a bunch of weaves from the plane.
Yo. Hey, you going to hell, boy. They gonna be on your ass. They gonna be on your ass, man. They ain't got no water or nothing. No healthcare. They just out there dying. It's just crazy, man.
That's how you... Do you think if they started selling braid wigs in the white community that white women would flock to a Korean store to buy them? No.
Maybe.
Black women couldn't wait to go to the smoke shop and get their little blue contact lenses. Look, my eyes are hazel. No, they not. No.
They poop. They poop color.
You like my hair? It's not yours. It's
They
yours.
love that weave. They love it.
Eat it for breakfast.
Make some.
I have an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great business idea. Nobody steal it from me. I'm going to enter the cereal market. Okay. And my target audience will be Black women. And I will sell a cereal shaped like weave.
Yo.
It's like there's Lucky Charms. It's gonna be marshmallows in the shape of weaves. And there's gonna be
called?
Let's see.
Weavable. Weevables. Yo.
Weaves. Like there's Wheaties that's gonna be Weavies. and on the box, how they have celebrities, it's gonna just be different Black women with different weave on it. And on the black back, how they have like the Captain Crunch little thing on the back where there's like an adventure, it's gonna be like that on the back of my cereal box. It's like there's gonna be a maze, and you're gonna have to trace the maze and try to find the ending. And when you get to the end, it's gonna be a weave at the end.
I'm not associated.
And then the Lucky Charms, how the Lucky Charms, he be finding the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. It's just a weave at the end of the rainbow. It's a hair salon with some weave at the end of the rainbow. That's what's going on.
They going on your ass.
My last one, my last business idea. This is top secret information. Okay, top secret information right here. All right. Okay. No, I don't think I should give this one away. I don't think I should give this one away.
That weave one's funny though. That might be a hit for real.
I don't know. I don't know if I should say this. Okay.
Say it. Freedom of speech.
Okay. My next business idea. For my next business idea. Okay. I think, God, why you make me do this? Okay.
Freedom of speech.
I think that with all of the abortions happening within the Black community, right? And this is a very serious thing. With all of the abortions happening within the Black community, if you're going to abort a female baby that is Black, you need to at least let it wear weave one time.
Yo.
Before you dispose of it.
They cancel your channel. They are canceling the channel after this. They're taking you a Black card. They banning you from the Black community. It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Every Planned Parenthood needs someone who can do hair so that Black baby, that Black child feels like a real Black woman. She cannot go out with her natural hair. Okay? That's not how she would have lived in real life based on statistics. Right? Give that child what they deserve. Give them a blonde weave. Please.
So and you have to make
sure, give them a blonde. Okay.
They look like a Yorkie with that blonde hair.
y'all done triggered me, okay? Next business idea. Next business idea. Okay. Next business idea. We need to really start looking at other opportunities for weave. Okay. White women, they own the Black woman's head. All right. Next, I really believe Korean people hair is going to replace the curly hair on Black women's vaginas. I really believe that. They've already replaced the hair on the top of their hair. They already replaced the hair on the top of their head. Next, it's going to be down here. And who you think they're going to go to? Who you think they're going to go to?
The Korean man.
I'm telling you, you're going to be walking down the street and you're going to see a random wig popping out of somebody's shorts. They're going to have the booty shorts on and it's going to be a random wig down there. And I'm telling you, it's going to happen. In the next 20 years, there will be weave pubic hair. There will be weave pubic hair.
How do we know it's not a thing now?
Hey, brother, I don't know that it's not, but I'm gonna get in early on this. Okay, I'm gonna get in early. Final business idea, because y'all should be paying for these consultations right here. Final business idea. Okay. All right. Let me think, because this is one that I think could actually work. This is one that I think could actually work. Okay. I question myself and I say, where does it start and where does it stop? What else starts and stops? Cars.
Car.
Yep, cars. Right?
Relationship.
Black women are going to start putting weave on their cars.
They already do that with the eyelashes.
They're going to take it a step further. I'm telling you. My car bald headed. That remind me of my natural hair. I got to put weave on it. These are things that we need to look forward to in the future. Okay, I'm not bashing Black women. I'm not saying that. These are just business ideas. I'm bashing them.
Yes, he is. Don't let him lie to you. They coming for you. They coming for you after this one, boy.
These are jokes. These are not real business ideas. I do not plan on having a meeting with the Korean community, the Chinese community, figuring out how I can get in on their monopoly of Black women's head. I don't feel like that's something that I would do. I don't want to make money off of that.
Yes, he does.
But what I will tell you is this.
He wants to be in the new rush hour.
What I will tell you is this. I do have a new cereal coming out called BBLs. Right? And the cereals the cereal is shaped like BBLs. When you pour milk on them, they get a little bigger, right? Like when y'all put the things in they get a little bigger. And here's where I'm going with this. Okay, I want to stop y'all from doing what y'all doing. So you go to eat cereal in the morning, you pour milk on it, you look at the BBL, it don't look right. That's what happens in real life. You pour milk in the weevies, you pour milk in the weevies, it don't look right. Okay? So I'm just here to support y'all. Really. I'm just here to support y'all. And yeah. You any final words?
Be weavable.
All right, I got one more now. Yes.
This guy is going in on y'all. Golly.
I okay.
You can make a weave out of your hair.
Y'all hate on Taylor Swift.
Oh God, yo.
Y'all hate on Taylor Swift so much.
Say it. Say it.
Y'all hate on Taylor Swift so much because she did everything you couldn't. She got her an NFL boyfriend and she didn't have to get online and show her vagina. and her boobs and things like that. She wore her natural hair for the most part, I think. And another thing, Taylor Swift is dating a man with less money than her. But y'all are online talking about how you need a man making more than you.
Ooh.
Taylor Swift is definitely making more than her NFL boyfriend.
Ooh. You think so?
Definitely. Taylor Swift is like her last concert did like a billion. She got money.
No, look these numbers up real quick, brother.
She got money. But where I'm going with this is y'all will replicate everything about white women. Why don't you just replicate how they get their men?
Ooh.
Like y'all pick and choose and
Ooh.
replicate certain things. Why don't you replicate the things that are working?
Ooh.
Don't give me that, oh, well, black men don't. No. Because if we're going to have a serious conversation about reparations, we have to have a serious conversation about the black family and black unity and being on one page. Because if we're not strong, then it opens up the floodgates for white women to come and take black men and for white men to come and take black women to have access to those reparations.
Is that why black men go and date white women or outside of their race? Do you think that has an influence? Because these other women are natural and the women in their community aren't natural.
It could be because of the naturalness, but it could also just be that the attitude, the behavior, the masculinity, I think women from other cultures look at black men with curiosity and they want to know more about us. But I don't think we get the same from within our community.
Ooh. Yeah, he crapping on y'all. He going in on y'all.
But
He weaving on y'all.
be on the lookout for the weevies. Yeah, if you're just tuning in, we had a conversation about reparations. If you have any questions, just type them in the chat real quick. If not, we're probably gonna log out.
Yeah.
Any conversations about reparations? Any final words?
Get some of this free smoke.
Any questions about reparations, you can come up and join the conversation if you want. Otherwise, we're going to head out.
From the bottom pocket.
From the bottom, we out here getting it. Don't know what I meant.
Hey, that way is crazy with that. You need to get your little line of weaves going. Let's argue weaves.
I believe I can fly. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. Fitz, make sure you go check out the merch store. Information is in the description, also in the comments on the live chat. You can support the channel by liking, commenting, subscribing. Also, Cash App. And be on the lookout for more great content. Go follow me on Instagram at Skits by Fitz. Skits by Fitz. And appreciate all the support. Like I said, anytime y'all want me to cover a topic, just let me know. You could comment on videos or go to Instagram. Nobody wanted to come up and have this conversation with us or give a different perspective on reparations. We're always open to hearing different sides. Sometimes we even disagree with each other, but it makes it more engaging if other people come up and have this conversation as well. So with that being said, you know, if you plan on tuning into future conversations, you're always welcome to come up. There's always a link in the comment section to join the conversation. You just click on the link and you can come up and join the panel, and agree, disagree, whatever it is that you want. But to wrap up, pretty much, we covered reparations, gave the history of reparations, went into details about whether the United States actually owes Black people reparations and what that would look like. Are Black people lazy just because they want reparations? Is the government, is there a timeline on, or a time limit on when the government stops being accountable for something they've done in the past? All of those different things. What fair compensation would look like for reparations. So we covered a lot. So if you missed it, make sure you go watch it on the replay. If you don't have anything to add right now, if there are no new comments and you don't want to come up and speak, type a 1 in the chat and we'll head out. Type a 1 in the chat and we'll head out. Otherwise, if we don't get any comments or anything, we'll just head out anyways. But type a 1 in the chat if you're watching, you got everything, all that great stuff. Type a 1 in the chat.
Hit the cash app. Oh boy.
There we go. That one.
Stupid, bro.
That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'll put going in. Maybe next time. They ain't ready for the conversation, man. It's all good. It happens.
Well, I got a carton of ice cream calling my name. Cookie. Nah, my blood pressure is 110/75.
This guy. Hey, boy, you a fool.
My blood pressure 110/75. My resting heart rate is 59 BPM.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. 59.
59. Okay.
I looked it up and it said that's the heart rate of like a well-trained athlete or someone who has a different condition, but I don't have that condition. Let me see. Now I got to try to go prove this.
Show some proof, bro.
Huh?
Show some proof.
I'm trying to pull up this health app. Where is it?
You say you got cookies and cream ice cream. Where'd you get it from? What brand?
No, I got Butter Crunch ice cream.
Butter Crunch. What's it like?
It's
a Butterfinger type of thing?
Butter Crunch from Andy's.
Oh, you ain't got this man ain't got Andy's. You a fool, boy.
Where is this app? I think. Okay.
He's stalling. Wow. He's stalling.
When I need it.
See, look. Fake news. Fake news. The Democrat in him.
Nah, I'm gonna pull it up. I'm gonna get it.
He is not
because I don't have my phone on me.
He is not gonna take this L. I love it.
It's because I don't have my phone on me. But my phone is what's recording. Let me see. You got me out here. Now I got to prove this.
Yeah, no 60.
59.
60.
Let me see.
Round it up, boy.
Okay, I know what I'll do.
What you gonna do? He gonna switch the cameras. Y'all gonna see his whole room.
Yes, sir.
Well, that watch is shining, ain't it? Sheesh.
Hey.
Sheesh.
Just trying to get my reparations right.
This guy. I'm gonna have to look at mine now that you looked at yours. I keep an eye on it.
Let's see. I can switch cameras. Extra camera.
So I average between 65
Look at that.
Heck, no. Hey, that's two of them. Double trouble. So I average between 65 and 70, probably 74, 72, 71. Yeah. I say 65 to 75 is my average. That's pretty good though. Some of y'all got high blood pressure. Some of y'all ain't got no rest of heart rate because y'all so stressed out all the damn time. Can't hear you, brother. Look at him. Did you switch shirts, bro? You had a shirt on the whole time? Oh, I just didn't see the style of it up close. Still can't hear you if you're talking. Nah. Obviously, if I could hear you, I would have said yeah. The show is the proof. Here it comes. He gonna show us the proof. Okay, I like the average. All right, it's pretty good. Try to call you bluff. You know what I'm saying? What's the highest your heart rate ever got? Well, you can't even talk. I'll have to ask you off camera, I guess. He finna switch.
What was that?
What's the highest your heart rate has ever been?
Probably
What's your
like
average when you work
190.
out? What about when you work out?
That's what I'm talking about. 190s.
Oh, 190. Well, you
Yeah.
finna have a heart attack in the gym, brother. You better relax.
This wasn't recent. This is like
Oh,
going up, like playing basketball probably, or
okay.
I don't sustain that.
Eesh.
But if you getting up there, 180, 190.
Black and strong,
Just strong.
huh?
I don't go by those labels.
Oh,
I don't
Haitian
go by
ass.
those labels.
Haitian.
I don't. We got 5 people in here now. We could keep going a little bit. I got another question.
Tell them people to come up.
You got one more question in you?
Yeah. You know something?
Okay.
Were they here with the weave thing?
In what ways might focusing on reparations divert attention from broader initiatives aimed at achieving racial equality and justice?
Repeat the question.
In what ways might reparations, like focusing on it, divert from achieving other goals, pretty much? Like, is reparations a distraction?
I mean, if we're talking about individually or black people as a group, yeah, it's gonna, like we said earlier, it's gonna take away from them wanting to be better and do better. It's gonna be like, well, I'm getting money from the government, so what's the point of me achieving all these other goals? I'm getting money. I'm cool. I don't need to do that.
But isn't that a narrow perspective? Isn't
Nope.
it assuming that black people are just going to be lazy once they get some money?
No, it's not narrow-minded. No.
And it's old though. So even if they weren't going to do it useful,
Nah.
old.
Nah. We talked about it. They're gonna spend it on consumerism. That's what black people are built for. Consumerism.
Everyone spends money though.
You spend money on stuff you don't need. Designer clothes, chains, gold grills.
I don't need this. I got it.
You do need that. It's part of your entrepreneurship. It's essential for that.
Let's see.
Did you spend $200 or $300 on that? Did you spend $200 or $300 on that?
I don't answer to you, boy.
Exactly.
Yes.
You need to spend 2 or 3
My name
hours.
is Todd. My name is Todd now. I don't answer to you. Okay? You get out my country and you come back once you get some sense. All right? You out here with your afro, pafro, nafro, with your nappy hair held back. I see you. Got your feathers in the background. Where are you flying to? It ain't to victory. You want your little reparations. I see you. Got the white man's glasses on, but you can't see through them right. Only white eyes can see through those glasses, boy. Smiling with them jungle teeth.
That's a new one. I heard that. I ain't heard that one at all.
Hold up while I flip my hair. Okay, I'm going in now. Ain't that what y'all say? Going in.
Do that again.
Get busy.
Do it again. That's how the black girls do it when they got weave in.
I don't know what you talking about with this weave. I don't know what y'all talking about. Okay, but what I do know.
What you sell weave? Todd, do you sell weave?
Listen,
Todd, do you sell weave?
I don't answer to your kind. Okay, I don't answer to your kind. Matter of fact,
Todd, how do you make a living?
Here's what I'm gonna do, just for you, since you wanted to go there.
Todd, okay? How do you make a living, brother?
let me. Are you mixed, sir?
I'm mixed with a lot of things. I'm a mutt, mulatto.
I figured. Here's what I'll do for you, though. Since you're in my presence, you're in the presence of greatness, you're in the presence of the superior people. Here's what I'll do for you. Okay? I'll have a conversation with you. And after that conversation, what I want you to do, I want you to go open up my people's Bible. I want you to pray to my people's God. And I want you to forget about these reparations, okay? How about that? And whatever you want to go do on your land, you want to go do dances around the fire, you go do that. How does that sound?
They took away our freedom and gave us religion.
And there y'all go again quoting stuff. You want to quote something?
They took away our freedom and gave us religion.
You want to quote something? Why don't you go quote some other stuff? Go like quote what? Albert Einstein. Like go quote something that's gonna get you something. You got that slave mentality, that slave mind. That's the problem.
They took away our freedom and gave us religion. Y'all are the problem. Hey, bro. Triggered.
Hey, man. We come to this country and we do more than you. Listen, I became a pro wrestler in the WWE. I became a pro wrestler jumping on ropes and stuff. And what have you done? Huh? What did you do? You tied your hair back? You went and read a couple books? Got on a podcast called Let's Argue? This dude ain't even got 750 subscribers yet.
You ain't got no hair.
Nah, who the owner of this channel? Dude ain't even got 750 subscribers yet. He ain't about that business. What you talking about? There's people in other countries, third world countries, got more subscribers than this dude with his weak ass gray shirt and his little old watch. He wore that watch. I don't know what he doing.
Rosie.
You know what? We gonna tag team him now. Okay, we gonna get on him. We got Todd Mysterio in the house. We gonna tag team him. All right. Listen. Okay.
Todd Mysterio, you stupid.
You letting those curls hang out. You letting that afro hang out. That's not what this country was built on. Put those glasses back on. Oh, you wearing the white man's mask now, huh? I see you. You know what? I'm going in this stream.
What you want to do?
And
what you want to do? I'll run up in your house, bro. What you want to do?
This
Huh?
is like
I'll run up in
This
your
is
house.
like one of
Stop
those-
playing with me.
it's like one of
Stop
those
playing.
games where they replay it
Stop
and they're
playing
like,
with me.
this is
I'll
gonna
run up
be
in
on
your
World
house,
Star
boy.
Hip Hop.
What Lil Wayne say? Run up in your house and shoot everything up.
Hey, go ahead. They already took my freedom. Didn't give me my reparation.
Hey, you know one thing? Because you were talking about black women weave earlier. What's one thing that they can't do with their real hair?
What do you mean, like styling?
No, what can they not do with their real hair? I'm gonna
I
show
don't
you. You ready? You ready?
Yep.
Watch my hair. Ready? They can't do that. It don't shake like
This guy.
that.
Hey,
Yo,
I've seen some.
it ain't theirs.
I mean, I haven't seen too many that just rock a afro, so I don't know if they can do it.
I've seen one.
Who?
Can't say their name. I don't have their consent.
Oh, yeah, it's good to get consent.
Yeah.
Buddy, because I'll take you to court.
Somebody you know.
Y'all gonna get me in trouble. All right,
Somebody
we gonna
you
get
around.
Huh?
Somebody you around.
I'm not around nobody. I'm
Somebody.
around Jesus.
You don't even believe
Jesus
in
had weave.
You don't even believe in Jesus. Why you got Jesus piece?
Jesus wore weave.
Shout out to
Jesus' goatee was weave.
Yo. Hey. Oh Lord.
Jesus' goatee was weave.
Some of them they got the weave on the Jesus now. Some countries they do.
I believe.
Why you got Jesus piece? Shout out Kodak, man. Free my boy Kodak.
I'm gonna get a weave beard.
Told you take your locks, make a little hairpiece out of it.
Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
All right. Thank y'all for tuning in. This is the Let's Argue podcast. Nobody wanted to come up and say anything, so we got to improvise and we got to add a little entertainment in there. But see y'all next week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll release the topic sometime during the week. And have a good night.
Boo! We out of here.
Peace.